Greetings and salutations, life and poetry fam. Welcome back to the channel with your boy, your host, you guessed it, Marcus T, this guy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are yet back with another awesome video for the life and poetry family. But before we jump into anything, I gotta get the formalities out the way, right? So, as always, if you're new here, or if you have been here before and have not already done so, do me a favor, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. It's right there down below. It's right there somewhere, down there somewhere, right? Smash that subscribe button, guys. It only take but 1.2 seconds, guys. I'm not asking for much. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything but just to join the Life and Poetry family. But even if you don't subscribe, it's still love, guys. It is still love, guys. It is really still love. But we are on the verge to 150, right? We're on the road to hitting 150 subscribers. That is the new goal set for the channel, for the family. And I believe it's set for August 1st. August 1st is the goal for Life and Poetry, guys. So help me get the channel there. Help me grow the family. And help me continue to grow. If we surpass 150, let's go for it. Remember, the first goal was set for 100 by July. We got that a week before July hit, right? We were like at 107 by July 1st, right? We are like 119, 120 now, I believe so. Let's get there. We've done it before. We can do it again, right? We can do it. We definitely can do it again, right? But yeah, so now all of that's out the way. Boom, bang, bing, bow, right? Today's video is something awesome. We are bringing back discussions with Marcus T, this guy. We're bringing him back to the channel. We're bringing him back to the forefront of life and poetry, where we touch on life's topics and things of that nature. With special guests, and today I have a very special guest with me today, guys. He is a friend of mine from a long time ago, right? I don't know how long, right? But we've been friends since high school. I spent some time ago, I think about 10 years or so. We graduated in 2010. It's like 2020. We've been friends for a long time, right? Long time. And I reached out to him, and I was like, "Yo, friend, let's link up and do this video. You have an awesome story, and I think that a lot of people can benefit from hearing your testimony." And he agreed to it. He's open and willing to discuss, his testimony and his story, his things he's been through thus far in his life. And yeah, I think you guys are going to enjoy it, right? So by this point, I pray that you push that button, right? I pray that you subscribe to the channel. And I pray that you also hit that notification bell so that when I drop videos like this, and also on Wednesday, those poetry videos that drop, come on, every Wednesday, you got to be kidding me if you don't want to see that. That poetry is coming, boom, bang, bing. You dig what I'm saying? It's coming. It's gonna be straight fire. Remember, new poem, old poem, freestyle poem, whatever mood I'm in that day, that's what's gonna drop, right? So guys, yeah. Without further ado, let's get into this video. Now, welcome back, ladies and whoa, that is not the intro. Jesus. All right. Man. What's the intro? All right, ready?
Yep.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another.
This interview is going to be great because of it, though. It's going to be great because of it. I'm not even. There's no speculation on whether or not this interview is going to be sick. There's always adversity that rises up against something that's meant to be great. So this interview is going to be awesome.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another installment of Discussions with Marcus T, this guy. Today, this evening, or as my guest said this morning, we are here to discuss something great, guys. I have a very good, dear, loving friend of mine, Mr. Kevin, over there on one of them screens on one of them sides. I don't know which way it's recording on one of them sides. He's over there, right? Kevin is a good friend of mine from way back when in the day, back to our high school days when we used to march in those green uniforms at the military academy. We go back to folding flags and color guard missions and things way back when he had curly hair.
That's how far we go back. Now he got like a pressing curl straight thing, flat iron type thing going on, right?
Yeah.
But me and Kevin go way back, and he's a true good friend of mine. And truth be told, for the longest, I've never thought of him as just a friend. He's always been a brother of mine. We don't have the same parents. We weren't birthed in the same canal, but nonetheless, he is my brother. He just has better hair than me. Hey.
Trust me, it took me years to get comfortable with my hair and how it is, and to try to stop being something that I'm not before. Yeah, no, my hair is not better than everybody has beautiful hair, and it's just about learning to be comfortable with and style that is
look, life and poetry. If he take his head off, he got this straight head and he didn't put a comb through with some water in. You know I ain't finna do that. I might break a comb or two in my time. All right, that's why I wear the hats. Life and poetry, you see me with this hat on almost every video. It's a reason for my shenanigans, all right? It's a reason for it. Not just because I love this hat. This is the best hat ever, courtesy of Mr. Kevin Adana over there, right? Right? Yeah, right there. Hit me up with the app to get it from, guys. ASOS, guys. This is not a sponsored video, by the way, but ASOS, if you want to sponsor your boy, it's me, Marcus T.
Drop a plug for ASOS. I'm wearing ASOS jeans right now. I have ASOS hats. Most of my dress clothes are from ASOS. I can't say nothing but amazing things about that.
Right, and the blessing is that I got this almost a similar hat from Amazon. Right.
Yeah.
So every now and again, you might see me switch up. I actually haven't worn the other one just yet.
I love that style on you, though. It definitely suits it suits your your face shape and just the way that you dress in general. Like that hat, it fits you,
man. Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. See, thank you. Thank you. See, Kevin knows that I struggled. I actually reached out to Kevin some time ago because I was struggling with finding the perfect hat for me. If you know me, you know I love hats and I love watches, right? I love hats and watches. Not necessarily to match them each other, but one or the other. I'm going to wear it, right? I may wear a hat. I think I wear a hat every day I'm out. I don't go out with just regular hair out. I don't do it. That's just not me. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I just love hat, especially this one here. I can wear this hat with jeans, dress clothes, anything. I'm in a sweatshirt and some sweatpants with this hat on.
And it works.
It worked flawlessly for me.
You in particular, though, you've always captured that more vintage style, super instinctually. I've seen you wear that. I don't even know what the proper name for the hat is, but that's. I know Kango is one of the brands, but that's not the style. But that's not the name of the style of hat. But I've seen you.
You're talking about the outlet hat?
Yeah, I've seen you wear those. I'm like, man, it just on somebody else I'd probably be confused about it, but on you it just works. I don't know what it is about you and the way that I don't know, the way that you own kind of vintage things that's just so natural. There's some people who just can't wear certain things, or it just doesn't. They can't really vibe with it. But you, as far as the whole with hats and watches specifically, if we're just focusing on those two things out of the time that I've known you, you've always had nice hats and watches and stuff. I didn't really get into watches until recently, and that's just mostly to accessorize and because some of the watches I have are gifted to me by either grandparents that are no longer alive or dear friends of mine. So I'm really into I don't have any on right now, which is surprising. Well, it's not surprising because I woke up not too long before we started this our original Zoom call. But yeah, I very mindfully wear things that were gifted to me or things that have certain symbolic meanings, on mindfully every day. So if I put on a watch, I'm oh, this is a watch that my father bought me and I can wear this with this. And that's, it's I try to keep it in that. But yeah, watches and hats, man, you've been killing that for years. So I was actually surprised you reached out to me in that conversation. How was you want my advice on hats? I picked up one fedora and everybody was that's pretty cool. I'm all right, I'm just going to work with this. You're yo, how do I find? I'm I'll give you whatever I can tell you, but I'm not the hat expert.
you don't know how long I've been looking to find the perfect hat. I got the style actually from my father. He loved wearing hats. He loved to dress up. He'd go out, put a nice little outfit, a little cologne, whatever, go out. He always had a hat on. So I picked up the style, and then he introduced me to Jimi Hendrix I was 6 years old. And the hat Jimmy wore back then on stage, and I was I want that hat, right? Yeah. Now, fun fact, I found that hat he wore, and it was authenticated that he wore this particular hat at Woodstock.
Oh, right? The actual hat that he wore. You didn't find a replica, but the actual hat that he wore.
right? And somebody was selling it on Amazon. It was an older lady who was selling it. She said she had went to Woodstock, right?
Mhm.
True
Yeah.
story. And she had got it from him. I didn't ask how she got it. That was between her and Jimmy back then. I don't know.
Right.
But no questions asked.
What y'all did to get
Right.
that added
You know. But as she was selling it on eBay, and I was okay, hold it for me, right? And when I got the money for it, it was a pretty penny for that hat, right? When I got the money for it, it had sold like that. I was devastated.
Yeah.
If you know me, I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. It was because of him I picked up my first instrument, which was the guitar that was strung upside down. Yeah, I'm right-handed playing a left-handed guitar. I didn't care. I was Jimmy. I didn't care.
Yeah, I know. That's
awesome. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so that's when I reached out to you, and I was like, man, I need a new hat. I just need a hat. I needed something to get that fixed, right? So this was the closest one I can get, you know, and I love it. Thank you. I love you for it, and thanks for hooking me up with ASOS. Again, this isn't a sponsored video, but ASOS, if you want your boy, I mean, I'm here, right? We're here, all right? We're here, all right? Kevin needs some stage attire, right? And
I do.
Right. Speaking of stage attire, Life and Poetry, Kevin is a complete rock star, guys. He is a phenomenal guitarist and lyricist, guys. He writes music, he plays the guitar, right? I've seen him play with his teeth before, right? And I was like, who does he think he is, right? He don't know nothing about playing with his teeth, right? But he killed when he was playing with his teeth. But I think you guys were practicing one day at Dennis's house. You did it. Yeah, I was there that night. We were drinking them Arizona iced teas. I remember we don't drink. I was drinking Arizona iced teas, but we was under the age back then. It was Arizona iced tea, right? Remember, it was the big can. You had to crack the top on, right? Arizona, right? Half and halves. And Kevin played the guitar, and I was like, this boy know what he's doing a little bit, a little something, something, you know, a little something, something. And it was funny because
I feel like it might have been one of those things, though, because one of the things that people used to like knock on me for a lot in high school and even like starting off early at Bowie was like that I could play guitar, but I was awful at Guitar Hero. So Dennis will like crank up Guitar Hero and just be like pushing these buttons, and I'm like over here with an actual guitar, like going through these like pentatonic scales, and everybody's like, but how can you do that but not that? And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but this is easier to me than that. And yeah, so it literally might have been that. We might have been at Dennis's house. He might have been playing Guitar Hero, and I might have been like, I suck at that game, so give me your guitar.
Yeah.
And that's how I just mindfully kind of strum away and like do that. It's funny. Like, I'm actually really excited for you to kind of hear me play like on some of this new stuff, because like where I was then versus where I am now on guitar are two completely different planes of existence. It's like now that I kind of understand how the instrument works, like notation wise and interval wise, I can look at it like literally almost like a piano or like another instrument. I can like, you know, very strategically pick my notes and my scale patterns and stuff. It's like I have a much deeper understanding of how the instrument actually ebbs and flows versus just like trying to throw a flurry of notes at you and hope they all fit together. Like it's a whole different. I almost kind of miss the ignorance of it, because I miss being able to pick up a guitar and just go, oh, let's just play all these notes, instead of being like, this is Aeolian, this is Ionian, this is Dorian, this is like, I'm going to start this pentatonic on this fret, and from here I should go here, and this is an E, and this is an F. It's like, it's so like, man, I really got to think about this all the time versus just picking it up and just like, it's just going away at it. So yeah, man, that literally might have been the actual occurrence back then, is Dennis playing Guitar Hero and me being like, I suck at this game, so let me see your actual guitar.
Now, Life and Poetry, when I tell you he showed off that day, he completely showed off. And I was like, that's not even your guitar, first of all. How can you disrespect somebody else's house with their guitar? I said, I didn't understand it, but we was like, yo, we was like, do you. We was having a great time that night. It was like 10, 11 that night. Like, you let an amp pull up on like 10 in somebody's house, like that person had to go to work the next morning. They didn't care. So we was like, let's have some fun. You know, let's have some fun. And believe it or not, I think that was probably, I didn't pick up a guitar after that, believe it or not.
Yeah. You said what?
I didn't pick up a guitar after that day, believe it or not. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's funny, because the story behind that with me was I stopped playing the guitar because I had went through something with my hands. You know, I started to get these cramps in my hands. Mm-hmm. And I thought, first thing I think was that I'm getting old. We were like 19 years old. I'm like, I'm old, man. My hands cramping up. I'm thinking carpal tunnel arthritis, something setting in. So I stopped playing the guitar. and I started playing keyboard, right? Which was the same mishap. I get cramps in my wrist now and stuff like that. So that's what I'm at now. I'm literally at my keyboard now as we're recording this video. So, you know, but
yeah, I was gonna say like from guitar to keyboard, I was like keyboard that like in piano that requires a lot more like finger dexterity than guitar does. So it's like you instead of like picking something like less strenuous on your hands, you went into like the exact opposite. I was like, dude, if my fingers are tired from playing guitar, the last thing I'm gonna do is go pick, like sit in front of the piano because then my fingers would be like, oh, what are you doing?
Look, again, it goes back to my dad. He played a plethora of instruments, but his of choice was the keyboard, the piano. So I was like, look, I'm gonna pick it up. You know, he showed me some stuff, then I forgot it. Then I ended up at Bowie and picked up some more stuff because I had to take that piano class, which I was like, this is the dumbest class ever. Then I was like, wait, I know how to play these scales. This ain't nothing there. So I play them, I'm playing in my sleep, my eyes closed, I'm throwing chords together. And teacher's like, no, that's not in the book. I said, it's not in the book, but it's in my book. We're gonna learn this today. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's something you do, you know. I was figuring out, you know, that I came across this this B2B, this stretch, you know, finger to finger, and I was like, this is a reach from my hand, but I put my fingers on the keyboard, and I was like, this ain't no reach at all. And the book is like this far apart, right? On the keyboard for me, it was like this, and I was like, I got a big hand. My hand is huge, you know. And from there, I don't even dumb the chords down because of that. I'm like, I'm gonna stretch it out.
Yeah, right.
I'm not gonna take the easy road out, right?
Yeah, but how is it with you when you're like playing a chord and then like you're like maybe arpeggiating with your other hand? Like, does it get like a bit like complicated then, or is it just, or do you just kind of keep the note spacings like minimal so that you can kind of like not really strain too much? Like,
I finesse it. I'm gonna say like I finesse it. I finesse it a lot. Like I think the song I'm learning now, you know, I don't read music at all.
Neither do I. I can't like. I mean, I can read music. I mean, when we were doing like drum corps back in high school, like I was able to read music in the sense of like knowing where my hits were, like playing bass, but like not to the full scope of reading an entire musical piece and knowing like everything that's going on. So yeah, I don't read music either. If it doesn't have the more modernized like guitar tabs to it, or I can't watch a video, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Like I think I took 2 music classes with piano was involved. I read enough to pass the class, right? After that, gone. It's out there. I don't do it yet. So I'm actually learning a gospel song now. Well, I learned it before I went on vacation. Like in part 2, you guys know my vacation when I went on. But before I left, I learned Oceans by Hillsong.
Okay.
Right. And I learned the dummy version of it.
Okay.
Right. So I'm in the hospital, and I'm on my first vacation. I'm in the first hospital, right? And they had a piano in the rec room. So I asked the nurse to take me down. I wanted to play the piano. And this piano was out of tune. Some keys didn't work. So I had to literally finesse each chord in the song on that piano. And the nurse was like, what are you doing? She was like, that's not the song. I said, put your hand on these keys here and tell me what it sounds like. She said, it sounds like a dead cat. It's because they don't work. I said, so what I'm going to do is, I said, I need you to do something for me, right? I put it on like the octave on the piano. It was like an 82, like an old upright pianos. Okay. So I said, I want you to go down real high up on the keyboard and you play this chord 3 times for me, and I'll fill in the gap. Yeah. She was like, it's not gonna make sense. I was like, sit there, I got you. I said, you follow me. When I hit you with the head nod, you make sure your fingers hit them keys. And she started doing it, and she picked up this rhythm. And I was like, whoa, I didn't tell you to do that. Like, you're doing too much. You're showing off just a little bit, right? She said, it sounds so good though. And I was like, that's what happens when you got to improvise on songs like that. Yeah. And that's what I do now. Instead of stressing my hands out, I literally improvise in between chords or notes. And like I know in one song I wrote for my father, it was a love song. I was writing love songs in 7th grade, right? Like I didn't know about no love back then, right? And at this time is when we first started sitting at the keyboard. And he gave me 2 notes, right?
Yeah.
He said C and E flat. And I was like, do I know what those are, Dad? I was like, I don't know that stuff. He said, put your hands here and rock back and forth. I wrote an entire song with those 2 notes and his keyboard that day in our basement. I said, this don't sound good. He put it down on paper and to put on that CD. I said, that's me. I said, I did that. You know, till this day, I still have that song. And they recorded, his entire band recorded it for me.
That's amazing. That's super cool. I always feel like that's the one of the things like you touched on about like how when you had to take a class for piano and you learned to read enough music to pass the class, and then afterwards you like it was just it escapes you. I feel like a lot of that has to do with like just the way the music education works, like in a traditional sense. I've always found that people take a lot more of a liking to music when they can kind of see how the individual parts of what they're doing like make up the composition of a song. So like very similar to that experience, like I had a dear friend of mine, Michelle, kind of hanging out over here one day, and I was going through my my 7 major and minor modes, just like to make sure I memorize the scale patterns. And Michelle was like, "Hey, can I pick up your other guitar?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, do that." And she plays ukulele a bit, so she like was able to kind of figure out some chords because some of the chord shapes are similar. And I was like, okay, well, let me just give you a simple chord progression. Like, since you already know C and F, like, let's just bounce back and forth between those 2 chords. And I was like, you can just strum them, like, not even do anything fancy with. Let's just do it up and down and just go for one. So she was playing it, and as she was doing it, I thought about it, and I found my C, like my root note, and I just started playing. I started playing like one of the minor pentatonics or something over it. So I was just like literally soloing over what she was playing. And she was like smiling and was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." So I'm like, yeah, it's like, see, people don't get that. I could give you something as simple as one, like you could, I told her, I was like, take one of the chords away, take away the F, just play the C. And she was just playing the C over and over again. And I still like played a whole bunch of notes over it. And she was like, "Wow, that's crazy." And I was like, dude, like, this is how I feel people should learn music. You should be able to, take a basic component of a song and then like be able to see how that translates to the end of being an entire composition. My cousin and his band Ill Dudes, I love that band dearly. They just released an album called The Mess, I believe either a week or a couple of weeks ago. My frame of reference of time is probably off because I work long hours. So people be like, "Hey, do you remember that thing that we did earlier today?" I'm like, damn, that wasn't yesterday? That's wild. My day has been long. But yeah, they just released a new album. It is phenomenal. And they, as part of one of their tours, it was like the I Love Living, I Love Learning tour. And what they did was they went around to maybe schools that didn't have music programs, or like, inner city like areas, and taught kids music, and like would have like a little class and session with them. And it would be something as if they take, one of the lyricists like, "Hey, give me a couple words," and like somebody else like, "Hey, let me teach you this basic chord." Literally just play that. And then the drummer would have some other kid, "Hey, just play this basic like pocket beat." And then at the end of it, it's like everybody gets together and takes their individual parts and then arranges them. And then before you know it, we're all jamming an entire song just based off of these original parts, and then can record it. And the kids are into it, and the band's into it, and like the parents that came out were into it. And like, it's like, man, like if kids could actually pick up music this way, I feel like everybody would be akin to it. Because I gave up playing guitar when I started like very early because I was frustrated with it. I couldn't make the damn thing sound good. I was like, I don't know any chords. I don't know any of them. Like, what do you do? And then I just put it. I remember one day I was like, screw it, I'm over this. I just put it down. But then like maybe like a week later, one of my favorite bands in the entire world, Avenged Sevenfold, released this DVD of them playing live in Long Beach, California. It's also very nostalgic because not that stop of the tour, but the Maryland stop of the tour was the first metal show that I'd ever been to, and Dennis was there with me. Actually, we're up in the nosebleeds, and we're just headbanging and screaming our lungs out to this band that we love, and just really in that moment, just imagining and picturing, it's like, man, like if we could do that, or if that could be us, it would be awesome. And I watched this DVD of the band like recreating that set in California, and the lead guitarist, man, he was Sinister Gates. He was just ripping that guitar to shreds. Like there's this one part where he hit this harmonic and literally had his guitar like level like this and was holding it by the whammy bar, and his guitar is like screaming, and he's just walking across the stage holding his guitar like he doesn't even care. And I'm like, dude, what is even happening right now? Like he's not even playing. His guitar is like letting out this high pitched like shriek, and he's just holding it up level and just walking across the stage just like, yeah, this is what I do for a living because I'm super cool. And I'm like, all right, I want to do that, so let's pick this guitar back up. It was from there that like I actually started, making a point to learn some songs. And them being the guys who were able to get together and jam, and then it's all history from there. With I think the first collective show was the talent show at Forestville, and then we kept we had so many makeshift jam sessions in Denzel's garage, but then it went to playing our first talent show, which we didn't even play second or third, I don't think. I mean, everybody told us that we sounded good. Our live mix was absolutely horrible, and the whole song was like improvised, essentially. But yeah, everybody like loved it to an extent, and we were like, hey, this was fun. This is, being on stage is something that we like doing. And I kind of like went crazy with it from there. I've been in and out of bands like literally since then, on vocals, guitar, and a bunch of other stuff. And I've done like work as a crew member for some bands, and I've tour managed, and I've like actually managed bands. I used to have an artist management group with a buddy of mine, and I definitely took the music full on versus some other people that kind of fell off with it. But I get that giving up out of frustration. It's so real, and people don't know that. It's like, yeah, you're annoyed that you're playing the C, but you don't understand how this is the start of you playing something. It's just like, yeah, it's really, people just need to see how those individual contributions make up an entire composition, and then they'd stick with it. Everybody's thing is always, oh yeah, I used to play clarinet, or I used to play flute, or I used to play this. And it's like, you can still play that. It's not that hard. You just got to know what you're doing.
Yes, at the end of the day, you can't give up on something that makes you happy, and that brings the segue into what we're going to talk about today. That's funny. Frustration, yeah. I was pissed. I was pissed. Taking time with his teeth, trying to show off and whatnot. But life and poetry, guys. Before we started recording for the third time, all right, we had a lot of technical difficulties today, all right. But Kevin and I, we were catching up on old times. We haven't actually talked in forever, because he ghosted me because I went on vacation, and he had to deal with some stuff on his end. But it's all for the benefit of growth, and that brings us to our discussion today, which is about self-discovery. It's a lot. It's some heavy stuff we touched on. I'm gonna swivel my chair just a little bit, guys. All right, I don't know why. I'm having fun. A new chair. Trying to break it in. I gotta break it in best I can. All right. Why not do it right now, right? Multitask, people. I got the butt groove going and everything, right? But yeah. So it's whoa, tongue tied. I have a stutter, so please bear with me. A stutter and a lisp is not a great combination at all when it comes to talking. All right, but we make it do what it do, like a poetry. We do what we do, how we do it, when we do it. You dig? All right. So it amazed me, Kevin, though, when you told me about this journey of yours, because I always thought, because like you said, you were the guitarist. So the guitarist in the band is the MVP, right? Let's be honest, right? You think about the musician.
Underneath the vocalist, who's always usually brains anyway.
They don't do nothing but open their mouth and sing. The guitars be sweating and breaking strings. They got a restring on stage, and you done broke a string and you got to find. They got switch guitars missed. I ain't got time for them, all right? But the worst thing they do is a shortage in the microphone cord. They go sit down somewhere. I'm not knocking a vocalist, so that's what I'm not doing. Or I'm not doing that at all, right?
Trust me, I could go on and on about my particular gripes with vocalists, especially when it comes to loading for venues. I got this amp and this guitar, and usually venues provide microphones, so they don't even have to carry a little box of the microphone in. They just got to step out of the van. Oh, it's a nice day.
Right.
I'm going to go into the venue and do vocalist things, whatever that
let me with some lemon water or something. Go sit down somewhere on my face, right? I didn't got blisters on my fingers from the other night. I ain't got time for that. But yeah, so I always seen you as being this person who knew, in my opinion, who knew who you were as a person and as an individual. But recently you let me know that that really wasn't the case. Like, you went back to find out exactly who Kevin was. not as a person in a relationship, or a person in a career, or a person who's behind the guitar, person who's starting a band, but who just you as a being, you know, as an entity of a human, you know.
Right.
And I was amazed at it, because you to me, you are a complete people person. In my eyes, you are a complete people person. I've seen you have conversations with people, intellectual conversations nonetheless. The other day on Facebook, you said something that I go look up, and I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, I'm really smart myself, but he laid some wisdom out there, and I was like, am I smarter than a fifth grader? You know, and that's literally how I feel sometimes. And I was like, this isn't for me. So I scrolled down and went back up and read it again. I was like, okay, I got it down. I literally had to go back and reassess what was saying. And you were basically saying, like, not on everything. I was like, what is he talking about today? You know, and it was funny because you simply said, love yourself. The message literally was love yourself. And I was like, why can't he just say that? like he Life and Poetry, he was so philosophical in this one post. It was like 2 sentences, but the synopsis was to love yourself. And it took me back to our conversation we had about loving yourself. And yeah, and I was like, this dude here is making me think about my whole life right now. And this one post. And this one post, I assessed everything. And your story, your journey, your testimony had me go back to reevaluate the things that I was dealing with in my own life. And I thank you for that. I thank you for having the courage enough to even tell me and open up and be transparent enough to tell your story here. So I wanted to bring you to the Life and Poetry family and to the platform to let the world know, let my subscribers know. It's 119 of them, Cam. We deep out in these streets. It's 119 deep out in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Right. I wanted you to be able to share your story, because I'm quite certain that a lot of people out there who are subscribed and who even aren't subscribed, who check out these videos, who don't subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, please.
Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when these things come up.
What he said, right? I ain't asking for no money, nothing. You know, but there's a lot of people who are dealing with that identifying self thing. You know, I'm quite certain there's a proper term for it, but I'm not that sound in that stuff. So
yeah, for me, honestly, let me address first. And I appreciate you like telling me that my post impacted you. I've been experiencing a bit of that feedback lately, and it's new for me. For people to kind of tell me that things that do impact them, because I wasn't, you know, even with things like, you know, I'd reach out to people and say stuff like good morning, or, you know, I would, you know, do stuff for people in the morning sometimes, and, you know, not really receiving feedback, I'd actually step away from doing those things. And then they'd be like, man, I miss those things. Those things like really made my morning or made my day and stuff. And I was just like, wow, I had no idea that something as simple that I could do could impact you. And my first experience with that, honestly, and I love telling the story, and I love prefacing it by saying, hey, I gave a dear friend of mine $1 and it made him quit smoking. And, you know, you put those two together. It's like, how'd you give somebody $1 and make them quit smoking? So basically this New Year's, like tradition that I started is like anybody that I would physically spend New Year's Eve with, I would give $1 to, and that would be my symbolic investment in the rest of your year. What you do with the $1 is completely up to you. It's not even relevant on which. It's more of the symbolism of like planting a seed that can then grow into something for the rest of your year. And I've been doing that for like a couple of years, like, and this friend of mine I hadn't seen for a while, and he came into the restaurant I used to work at. I was like, hey man, here's your $1. Here's why I do this, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, cool. And he takes the $1. I treated him to dinner that night at the restaurant I worked at. And then he went home. I didn't hear from him for a little bit because we both get busy, like, and it was maybe a few months went by. And the next time I saw him, he came into the restaurant and he like pulled me aside. He's like, hey man, come here. I was like, and I'm, you know, joking, like playful, walk over, like, what's up, man? How you doing? And like just joking around. He's like super serious. I'm like, hey, what's up? You good? He was like, I need to talk to you. I was like, okay, what's up? And he's like, I quit smoking because of you. And I'm like, I didn't tell you to stop smoking. I don't know. Are you mad at me that you quit smoking because of me? What's the deal? And he's like, no, he was like, I really appreciate you like helping me quit smoking. And I'm still confused because we didn't even have a conversation about him smoking. Like, I don't even know like why. And he's like, good. And I had observed him to smoke cigarettes like every once in a while, but like not, I wasn't aware of the fact that he was like, you know, smoking excessively enough to where he thought it was impacting his health. And he was like, yeah, man. So I went to the gas station after I left here, and I didn't have my wallet with me. And it's like, you treated me to dinner, so I didn't bring my wallet out with me. He's like, but I realized I would have had enough money to buy a pack of cigarettes only if I would have included the dollar that you gave me. And he's like, you know, I have it in my hand and I'm getting ready to add it to the rest of the cash I have. And I'm about to go into the gas station or whatever. And he's like, and I don't know what it is, but I got this feeling. And I heard this voice kind of say to me, are you really about to spend the seed of your investment on something that's destroying you, or something of that nature? Like something very profound in that sense. Like, you're going to give this thing that this guy gave you to grow into on something that's literally killing you. And he was like, ever since then, I have not touched a cigarette. And I was like, wow, and I'm just like, dude, I just gave you $1. Like, I never expected to make this level of impact on you. And it's something that I've carried with me. And I tell people all the time, like, yo, $1 could change somebody's entire life. And to be able to do anything that impacts anybody is always humbling to me, because I've been able to, you know, just extend those kindnesses to people. And they've come back to me and tell me things like, dude, like, based on this thing that you did, I was able to go back and, you know, even with a post, like with you saying, like, I was able to look at that post and then take a look at myself and, you know, start like, you know, go further on my own like self-discovery journey. That's amazing, because I'm just trying to live my truth the best that I can. And anybody that I can inspire along the way is amazing, because I've had my own downfalls, and there are a significant amount of things I would like to improve on within myself. And I always had it in my head that in order to be an inspiration to somebody, you had to be like this grand vision of a person. Like, you kind of already had to be the finished product of what you were. But to only realize that sometimes you falling and like making like mistakes and mishaps on your journey can be the actual nuggets of truth, the things that inspire people and make them take a look at themselves and become ultimately what they can be. So initially, thank you for letting me know that anything that I do, like that I've done, inspires you, and I'm happy to have made an impact. Yeah, it's just amazing to me to be able to make that impact on somebody. The self-love and this journey of self-discovery is something that I'm still continuously on day by day. And it's new, because as a person who's spent so much of his life tending to and caring for other people and trying to find the best ways to do that while neglecting himself, when it comes to like loving yourself, it's a whole new ball game. It's like it's having to really take a look at yourself and accept yourself for the totality of what you are, versus like your achievements or versus what you might be involved in or what you might do. You have to really like love just you. And for me, that's always been easy for me to do for other people, because I can love people unconditionally. I could be like, hey, there's like all these great things about you, and I'm just happy that you exist. That's great. But when looking at myself, I'd always have this like very strict parent kind of like, you need to do better. You need to be improving on this or that. And like, I would literally be my own worst enemy in that regard. And it took like some pretty significant like discovery and soul searching to break away from those patterns, those thought patterns. And I'd like to say it started with the beginning of my tattoo journey. Honestly, that's something that what a lot of people don't know like from the surface, is that tattooing is a very spiritual process for me. When the Philippines was first discovered, it was called I don't know the name of it in Spanish, so it's like La Isla Personas Pintados or something like that, but it's like the island of the painted people is the translation. And as you know, young, you know, Visayan kids in the Philippines would like go through their initial stages of maturity and adulthood, they, you know, have additions put to their tribal tattoos, and that would signify the next step in their journey. And when I started my tattoo journey to like get this memorial piece from my grandfather started, I was fortunate enough to connect with an artist that was also very spiritually in tune. And he allowed me to start really like taking a look at myself. And it didn't start until our third session, because we did 2 sessions when we started initially. And then we both like had our space for like a few years because life just got tumultuous on both of our sides. But when we reconnected, he was also like in a journey of self-discovery and like kind of like breaking some old cycles of trauma. And in tattooing in itself, we had some pretty grand conversations like during our session. But it was also him making me aware of this personality typing system called the Enneagram. And it's insane, dude. He was able to take what he perceived my Enneagram type was versus my ex-girlfriend's Enneagram type and put them in this compatibility thing and give me a whole rundown of how our relationship played out. And he just read this thing to me, and I was like, where did you get that? Because I didn't tell you some of that information, so how do you know that? And he was like, yeah, man, this stuff is, he's like, this is what I used to type myself, and I began understanding not just myself, but the world around me and how to relate to it. And, I left that session with a book to read, with some with some information to digest. And he really like dropped some knowledge on me. I can only articulate that trip as if like the training montage that every kid goes through, like in that movie, to where some kid might climb to the top of a mountain and meditate with a monk and come back and light as hell. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, I came back with this. I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, I kind of know I have a tool to understand myself. And I took that and ran with it and added the love languages and the Myers-Briggs typing system and, my astrological chart. And like, I kind of now have like the basis of all these things to help me understand myself, to where it's like literature. I can go read it. Like, hey, why am I so analytical? Well, one of the traits of the Virgo astrological sign is to be analytical and methodical and thinking. So it's like, okay. But at the same time, I'm like really emotional. It's like, oh, well, your moon sign is Pisces. So like, that's a river of emotion right there. And then like, it's really just like putting the pieces together and understanding what it is as a whole. Like, even if you want to loop back to our music conversation, like understanding how that middle C contributes to the entirety of a composition. It's like, you have to understand what exactly it is that you are and how that plays into the world as a whole. So with me being able to have these tools and understand myself, I've also been able to better relate to the world. Like, I can create almost a mental file on somebody and understanding these things about them and know how to interact with them in the way that's more like that they're most receptive to. So if I know your main love language is like receiving gifts, I'm not going to shower you in compliments all day, because you're going to be like, why are you saying nice things about me? The only way that I receive love is when you hand me something. Like, so I'd be like, okay, I know this dude likes gifts, so I'm going to, boom, there you go. There's a gift. This is my way of showing you that I love you. And just to be able to apply that to any situation has been pretty great, honestly, to just be able to approach interactions with the true intent of understanding, of like, I really want to know who you are, and then I'll apply it in a way that makes the most sense based on who you are. Like, using music as an example, I can't start off with a C chord on guitar and start playing in like the key, like start playing in A minor and not hit that C. They kind of give you the did not give you the clue that this is where you should, about understanding the core of what makes you you. And then even if there's things you don't like about that, like, you can change them through practice and ultimately become like a version of yourself that you have always wanted yourself to be. So I'm on it day by day, and I'm nowhere near the end of the journey. I feel like it's a lifelong journey to live. I mean, until you get older, older people are like set in their ways. They know themselves, and they're like, you know what, this is me, and if you don't like it, you can go somewhere. But until you reach that level of maturity, you're forever going to be on this journey of like figuring out who you are and just trying to be the best version of that. And I feel like my particular purpose in this world is to leave it a little brighter, a little warmer than it was when I got here. So I'm trying to play every angle I can to do that, and whether it be encouraging or inspiring people or making music or you know, just if people can observe something that I do about myself that makes them take a stronger look at themselves and like be a better version of themselves, then fine. I just want to be that light that shines in the world, like without even trying. My favorite quote, I wish I would know who it was by off the top of my head, but I know it because it's at the end of one of my favorite songs, and it says, "From time to time, there arise among human beings people who seem to exude love as naturally as the sun gives out heat." And when I heard that quote, I was floored. I was like, that is what I want to be to the world. I want to just like, when I wake up in the morning and yawn and stretch, I want there to be love in that without even trying. Like, just to exude love so naturally, it just is me, not that it's something that I have to try to put out into the world. It's like the second I step into a room, that room is filled with love. And that's like, just, I know that, and I know that that's like my purpose and my calling based off of what I understand about myself. And from my literal astrological birth chart to just the way that I was brought up, it's like, man, you were molded to help the world. So you got to use that to do that in some way, shape, or form. And it's all about finding the best way to do it. That's the complicated way, but it's a lot. So, yeah, man, I'd encourage everybody to love themselves and really take a hard look at yourself and figure out like what makes you tick and what makes you the person that you ultimately are. Because from that level of understanding, can you then build upon to, you know, shape yourself and mold yourself into an even greater version of that. So I encourage everybody to take all your personality assessments to like, you know, understand like how your family upbringing and even like your family history. To my whole thing is my mission is to have people break cycles of trauma and embrace a deeper level of understanding in order to be able to be better. The whole again, I can't reveal anything yet, but I can say that the band symbol for the new project that I'm working in is the combination that ultimately full scope and understanding of the totality of personality types, along with the breaking of vicious cycles of trauma. It is a symbol that encompasses every person of every lifestyle, while also understanding that everybody goes through things and like through understanding, and it was through the combining of two in just like hey, this is what this band stands for, or what I stand for, and how I'm going to use it to change the world in a way. It'll be something that people can wear like a badge of honor and be like, hey, I based on this, I now understand. I know where to go to understand myself or how to begin that journey. So to be that catalyst to spark for change has always been important to me. Yeah. I feel like that was a very long-winded response.
Yeah, I'm with it. You know, as long as you get the message out.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as that message gets out, I don't care if it's 2 hours long. We're on here to get the message out. You know, and that's what it's about here, Life and Poetry. You know, it's about encouraging and uplifting. You know, and planting those seeds of wisdom. You know, and to touch on the part where you said, you know. You were in a position of loving others before yourself. You know, all too often we find ourselves doing it because that's what society says to do. You know, and
very much so.
Yeah, and in doing so, we take on society's mold of what we're supposed to be. So it says we're supposed to have these tough exteriors, be this, that, and the third, but it's like, when am I benefiting from allowing society to dictate my happiness, to dictate how I'm supposed to maneuver and what's happening around me? You know, and I see it all too often in today's climate, especially what's going on with this pandemic. You know, we have this level of sensitivity that came up, and it's like, okay, where was it then when it was needed? You know, you have the even in these movements that are coming up, you know, like where was the sensitivity then? When were you going to say love this person then? Why do we have to just all of a sudden get into this posture of loving now? You know, and just imagine if we had the stance you were taking today back then. Imagine that if we had the mindset of, okay, let's learn to love ourselves then, where would we be today? You know, and you know, it's funny because, you know, your favorite quote that you stand on reminds me of mine. Veni Vidi Vici. I carry it with me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, it's somewhere on my arm, one of these places, somewhere up in there, somewhere. Veni Vidi Vici. You know, I came, I saw, I conquered. I came into this world. I saw what I had to offer it. Now it's my time to conquer it. But I can't do that until I understand me.
Right.
How can I conquer something if I'm lost in this mosh pit of personalities, right? You like that mosh pit.
I love the mosh pit reference, of course. You knew I was gonna love the mosh pit reference. I'm like, that's mosh pit. I was watching a Disney movie once, and there was a Slipknot reference in it. I was watching it, and I was like, yes, this is awesome. Literally, like mid-movie, I just yelled, and everybody's like, what? I'm like, they just don't even worry about it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's they don't understand it, right? Life and poetry. If you understand what mosh pit is, comment down below. All right, comment down below your experience in the mosh pit. All right, I myself have never been in one, but I'm quite certain that Mr. Kevin has been in a few mosh pits in his time.
I have been in more than I can count, and I am more than I don't consider myself an expert on the subject, but I am more than happy to explain to anybody that wants to know what a mosh pit is, how it works. Mosh pit etiquette and mosh pit roles. Yes, there is an etiquette, and yes, there are people who play specific roles. There are enforcers, there are support people. There's it's actually like a kind of a lot to it. But yes, I'm loving the mosh pit reference for sure.
I had to throw it in there, but it's funny because even if I'm thinking about it, if you think about the mosh pit and what it is, look at us today. Right? We have those supporters. We have those people who are enforcing what's supposed to happen, right? And then we got those people just there just to get hit.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it makes you think, okay, so what am I in the mosh pit? Am I the supporter? Right? Am I the enforcer? Or am I just going to get hit in the face? I'm not going to get hit in the face. I'm just saying. I like
you can go in and flail around if you want to, but ultimately, like, what are you in there for? Like, I definitely fall into, no surprise, the support role. But like I'm like in the support role is generally if somebody falls, pick them up. If you see somebody like kind of going a bit too wild or throwing elbows or throwing fists or kicking, you kind of like you'll either like bump them out or like get their attention to be like, hey bro, like you're gonna hurt somebody, like relax. But like yeah, everybody has their roles to play. The enforcers are just are the people who, if somebody's getting a little too rowdy and they want to get tough or try and hurt somebody, the enforcer will remind them that this is not the place to do that. And they're usually about 5 times the size of me and people that you don't want to talk to a certain kind of way. So it's like, yeah, you're throwing bows in the pit and this guy walks up to you. It's like, you need to chill. You're like, you know what? I'm going to do that because yeah, I don't need to be messing with you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
it's about understanding your role. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you can't do that until you know who you are as a person.
Exactly.
You know, like you said, you're on that journey now. Like, and I love it because you're in the journey. You're not saying that you successfully conquered it. You're like, look, I'm still learning from what's happened. You know what I'm saying? It's funny to me because I've come across a few people in my short time here. All right, Kevin's old. I'm not. Y'all remember that. He's old. I'm not. All right, Marcus T. This guy ain't old. Kevin.
I'd like to think your birthday is before mine, though, isn't it? I feel like it's because I'm September 10th, 92. I think you might have me on but I mean I won't touch too much on it. I'll let we'll continue.
Life and poetry. He not coming back after this. This is one and only shot here. Like he done. He called me old. All right, let me hide my gray hair. let me hide the gray hair just a little bit, right? That's another reason I wear the hat, right? No, but see this. I got this whole top piece under the hat is gray. That's primarily why I wear my hat like this, because all this up here is gray. Yeah.
But I mean, you could rock that salt and pepper look, though. I'm telling you, like that like the gray. It'd be cool. I think it'd be cool. I'm just saying.
I'm not gonna touch that one there, right? I'm gonna hide it best I can for now.
I'm
28.
I'm just saying, like, but the hospital that I work at, this guy who used to supervise the psych ward, had that kind of like, like the patches of gray and stuff in his hair. And I mean, some of the nurses at the hospital were on this dude, man. They were like, look at that guy with the salt and pepper hair. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know y'all were into that. But so I'm just saying, like, I'm also realizing I don't want to say there's a market for everything in the sense of like trying to monetize it, but there are people into everything, man. You never, you never know. There could be a whole touch of gray, like fashion line where they only have like models that have like gray. You never know, dude. I find the weirdest little subsects of things, man. You would never like. There's certain people who like just certain things, and you're like, what? Like just that? Okay, that's sure.
Yeah. I'm like I ain't got the confidence up just yet to gladly boastfully say I'm gray. All right.
I still wear hats all the time. I mean, well, I mostly don't wear my hair down nowadays because I'm at that length now to where I'm like just past my eye. But it's like those hairs, like when they're in my face, like if I close my eye at the wrong time, like the hair, like not just one strand, but like multiple strands of hair will be like in my eye. So like I'll wear it down for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, like, you know, it's curly and that has bounce to it. But then like the first or second time it gets in my eye, I'm like, yep, done with this. And I'll tie it up and I'll throw a hat on it. That's just the end of it. I'm like, yep, nope, it's in my face. I'm over it. I'm completely over it. And I even understand the whole confidence with building out confidence with hair, man. Like you've known me for a while and known me through like the period of life where I was like straightening my hair. You've seen my hair in its like best and worst states. You've
yes,
and a lot of that you know, I touched on in a Facebook post, but in a band that I was in that was very, very active, I was able to get some attention from this AR rep that worked with some bands that I was very fond of. And in just meeting her and talking to her and like telling her about like the things I wanted to do, she then referred me to this guy who worked a bit more like directly with the label that I aspired to be signed to. And essentially, you know, he just kind of very much like a product was like, I mean, yeah, this kid's kind of got the look. You know, I didn't have tattoos back then, but he's like, yeah, get him some tattoos, and you know, we got to do something with that hair. And if he had a lighter colored eye or some contacts, like he'd be the whole package. But we got to do something with that mask on his head, and we just got to style him up a bit. And this is like coming from like somebody who's worked with bands that I would listen to and hope and aspire to like tour with one day. So I'm just like, along with like other things I dealt with like in my childhood, I wasn't necessarily like reinforced in terms of physical attractiveness in most respects, and it's exactly quite the opposite. But yeah, like those major hits from like, you know, my family and from this AR rep of this industry that I wanted to break into, it like killed my confidence, dude. It was like I felt like I had to change my hair and like dress a certain way or like present myself a certain way before like people would find me to be something of value. And it wasn't until the pandemic actually to where I was like just kind of home from one of my jobs and, you know, had taken maybe a couple of days off from the hospital. And I was just like, but like I was like heating up my straightener and I was like, what am I doing this for? I'm not even going out. Like, why do I even care? And I took a shower and then like you know, washed and conditioned my hair, and I didn't realize how long my hair had got. Not only pay attention to how long my hair was like after it was straightened to kind of see where it would lay. And I walked up to my roommate and I was like, bro, you know where I hit a point where I don't care in quarantine anymore? I was like, I'm wearing my hair curly and I don't even care. And he's like, I think it looks awesome. Honestly, he's like, I think your hair looks good. And I was like, thanks, man. It's one of those things where, you know, I get picked on a lot for it, or like, you know, I've had some people say some pretty traumatic things. So I would just like, I'd either try to change it or just cover it up. And I wouldn't want to, it was something I was really insecure about until recently. And now that I can kind of, I've received an overwhelming amount of positive feedback. I've had like a few friends just be like, what do you mean this dude said this to you? Like, screw that guy. Like, your hair's awesome. Like, what do you like? And one of my friends, Ali, he was like, you know, when I started cutting my shirts, he was like, dude, you look like the vocalist of like a metal band. He's like, you look like the standard hardcore vocalist right now. And I was like, wow, that's always how I've wanted to look. So the fact that you're telling me I look like that right now is pretty insane. But yeah, man, I totally understand like that, having to build confidence, and I encourage people to do that and the breaking cycles of trauma, because there could be somebody who's just hating on you all your life that was just like, hey, like, you're ugly because I actually think your hair is really cool, but I just want to tell you you're ugly so I can tear you down. But and when you find out in your adulthood that those things had no real basis, you're like, man, did I really like live my entire life being insecure based off of something that somebody else who was insecure said to me that held no real weight. So it's, yeah, in realizing stuff like that is another thing that pushed me forward on my journey of self-growth, because I went 12 years hating my hair, putting all that effort into like straightening it, styling it, and, you know, doing all these things to try to make myself look better to other people, when ultimately I got the best response from the way that my hair naturally is when I step out of the shower. You know, it's one of those things. It's like you realize that some of the things that are the most important in life, or some of the things that are the truth of the matter, like what you can be overlooking, can be right in front of you. And it's just insane that, you know, it how much it changes the course of an entire life. Like, I wouldn't have spent 10 years trying to make myself palatable to a market of people that ultimately loved me the way that I was, if I hadn't endured this interaction with this person, you know? So it's like, yeah, I try to tell people, like, hey, like, remove yourself from how somebody else is trying to make you live your life. Like, you should be able to wake up and be comfortable enough with yourself and happy enough to where your life is, to where you have a sense of peace and comfort for yourself, not for anybody else. If nobody else approves of your lifestyle but you, like, as long as you're happy, healthy, and safe, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of how you might try and live your life, or how you might try to dress yourself or style yourself. Because how many times do you see people out to where you'd be like, I don't think that's necessarily the best outfit, but they're just living their life. They're walking, they're happy, they're grooving, they're doing their thing. And then other people might be like, hey, that outfit's super dope. I might not like it aesthetically, but that person likes it. That's how they present themselves, and they're living their happy truth. So why impose on that? Just be like, hey man, you do your thing. You do your thing in that outfit that might be blue polka dots and green stripes. I just do your thing, man. I don't like it, but everybody's happy, you're happy. So cool.
I probably wear something like that, you know. And you've known me since the green uniform days, when you can dress up in regular clothes, you wear regular clothes. I never was the label person. I didn't care about what people thought about the clothes I wore. None of that stuff, right? But I had that regular coupe, that fade up in the back, sideburns, you know, up, chopped up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Everything was regulation for me for the longest. When I left Fordsville, even when we transitioned to Bowie, I still had that nice, clean, sharp haircut. And
yeah, I feel like all of us, once we stepped out of Fordsville, like, kind of went on stylistically in different directions, because we just were finally happy to be able to dress like how we wanted. So like, even especially with like the hair growth, that seems to be a recurring theme with like everybody's like, I don't gotta cut my hair no more, so I'm just gonna do it. Like, yeah. Then like my first semester at Bowie, like I had this freaking curly fro, and I'm like, I just don't have to cut my hair. This is why I'm keeping it.
Yeah, man, it was crazy because we had that uniform 5 days a week. We had a style. It was like you couldn't go wrong because we all wore the same thing.
Right.
Green blouse, green trousers, patent leather baits, black socks, black belt, gold buckle. What can you change on that? Well, you can wear your tie one day, don't wear it another day. That's about the only thing you could change differently, right?
Yeah, that. I mean, for the people who wanted to get like fancy with either the windbreakers or the other jackets that we had, and then us, we had our ribbons and our cords and stuff. So with that in our rank, we'd walk around with this air of like important. Like I just need you to know that not only like position wise, but aesthetically, I'm the one. Like I got my cord, I got my I got all my ribbons, I got like my pins that everybody else did, especially when we got into the art pins on like the pockets and stuff. Yeah. There were times where we were doing way too much. We were like dressing like we were actually in the military. Like we had all of us. It was really like, man, you got both your cords on, your art pins, your ribbons, your rank showing off, and then you'll have your jacket on over that. So it was a double like, I already got my name badge and everything on my jacket and my rank and my cords, but then boom, take off the jacket, check out the rest of these accolades, bro.
I mean, for us, that was the fashion. In 4 years of high school, that was the fashion. And really so be it. I went on the Bowie and did the same thing for a little bit of time, same thing, right? But it's funny because on that first hospital trip, I was on a medication that made my hair and nails grow like that, right? And it changed the course of the texture of my hair. I had your text of hair for the first hospital trip, and I didn't know what to do with it. I woke up one morning, like 2 in the morning, and I thought something was crawling in my ear. It was my hair. It got that straight, right? I'm brushing my hair, nothing happening. So I called my cousin, said, "Can you bring a comb next time you come?" And she combs my hair down. She was like, "It's laying on your ear. What you want me to do?" I said, "Tuck it back behind my ear." That's how straight my hair was. And I was like, "This ain't gonna work for me," right? but then my body got used to the medication, right? And it coursed back up. And I was like, "Man, I want the hair back," right? I want the hair back for the longest, right?
Yeah.
So after that, like I couldn't go to barbershops. I couldn't walk. You know, I was housebound. So my hair and the took to grow out. So this whole Ush Bush thing going on, right? And when I was able to go out, I was like, wait, I'm not cutting this down. Let me do something different. And I started the Mohawk look.
Mm-hmm.
That lasted for the longest time. It grew out to a great length, but then it started getting a little stupid, started breaking, and started itching real bad. So like, man, cut it. I took it all off. Boom. I left the barbershop and was like, what did I do? Then it took me like 6-7 months to wear that Mohawk cut the way I went. Y'all see my Instagram pictures, right? My hair's changed for a lot of times. And I cut it, and I was like, what in the insert word here? Right? I'm not going to cuss, I'm not going to bleep it out, right? But what did I do? Then I was like, man. And so I grew it back out. So I got the other Mohawk to come back out recently.
Yeah.
And what did I do? I cut that too, right? But I didn't cut it off. I cut it into the high top fade. That's what I got now. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm bold enough to try those things now, but the gray still ain't for me just yet. Right? But I refuse to dye my hair though.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get there with the gray. Like everybody, I mean, there are people who actually like aspire to the gray. Using Dennis as an example, Dennis is going for like that silvery, like when it comes to dye, and yeah, man. I mean, honestly, like it looks good on him, and like once it's finished, like it's gonna look even better. Like I definitely like dig that look on him. But yeah, there are people who aspire to the gray and aspire to the silver. But I was thinking for this video, that idea that I had, I was actually thinking about getting that little like gray or like white wax and just kind of like putting it in my hair for just the shoot, because I do think in some senses like that look is super cool. Yeah, you'll get there, man. You'll be embracing that gray eventually. I could already see.
Yeah. But see, so the funny thing is, right, I don't want it in my hair. I want it here, right? I want those gray tips a little bit, but I don't want that dye. I want it to grow naturally gray. But the thing is, it's already growing like that.
Okay.
That's why I keep cutting it.
It's gonna take a while for this. You have gray hairs in your beard already? Like
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I haven't. That's the one. Like I don't get gray hairs there. I get like random like really light brown ones and like red ones in my beard. It's super random. Like I remember one day, and it was weird because it was like right in front. Like I woke up one day and I was like washing my face, and then I was like, why does that hair? And it was red. It was like all like. Not fire engine red. That's an exaggeration, but like a deep red. It was like, but noticeable. Like against all the black, I was like, whoa, why is there that one random like red hair there? And I'll get that. Some will be like light brown, some will be red, but yeah, essentially it's just all black. I finally started like growing facial hair around here, which is awesome. So I'm working on full beard. I'm just not quite there yet. Mustache is my goatee almost connects now. It's been like I've been growing my facial hair for like a month now. It's been pretty cool. It's a journey. I didn't like it at all at first. It's like, especially when the mustache started coming, I would always shave my mustache. I was like, I don't like it, but I was like, let me take a couple months to fully commit to trying to grow a beard, because I've always wanted one, but I've never tried. So I'm like, I'll give it another month and kind of see where we get, and I'll make a decision whether or not I'm shaving it or keeping it from there. But at least like I grew it and I'll have it. So yeah, for the longest time, I would look at my older brothers and they have these full beards, and I'm just be like, I hate you both so much because they just grow them, so and then they just shave, and it's like, oh, it's whatever. Me, I'm like,
yeah. The mind don't connect, so and wifey doesn't like the patchy look, so I keep it cut down. I'm starting to see what she's saying. That patchy look, I love the rustic look. But sometimes it's like, bruh, save me, you know. So from now on, I think I'm just gonna keep it cut on the side. I might let this grow back out. This doesn't connect just yet. This has length every now and again, but I cut it down. You know, sometimes you gotta groom yourself to be, you know, I don't know. Yeah. I like to change my look every now and again, but confidence goes a long way with it.
The only thing I don't like about my mustache specifically is like the hairs are just really long. it's like they're like long individual, like almost like wiry hair. So it's like, I mean, literally with, and I've done it before hilariously, like with, so like I can take like wax and do the little like the little curve, like the gentleman's mustache. I can totally do it. But like at the same time, like when those hairs like aren't like either like pushed down or like pushed back, they're just kind of like all over the place, so like whiskers almost. And I'm like, I find myself like doing this or like having to like I have like a beard balm that I use or like conditioner that I'll leave in my hair. I'll like put some of that on it to soften it, because especially wearing mask all day, like my beard is like pushed up like this all day. And then I'll take my mask off and my mustache is like jacked and my beard's like this, and I'm like, okay. And if I don't put the beard softener in, or if I don't put conditioner in my beard and my mustache before wearing a mask all day, like it is like noticeably more uncomfortable. It's like, so it's also that extra maintenance that's had to go into it. I'm like, man, I actually have to like, you know, when I'm putting like my face oils and stuff on, I have to go like do like this to my mustache and like, you know, make sure my beard's okay. And like it's extra effort in the grooming too.
Trust me, I know the feeling. My mustache has these spikes at the end. So,
yeah,
but
so weird.
I've been training mine since Fordsville, though, right? Remember, you had to have the corners cut on your mustache back then in the military standard. So I learned the trick. Just like you brush your hair at night before you tie it down, brush your mustache down the same way. Brush it down the same way, and just constantly do it, and you start to train the hairs the way you want them to lay. Yeah. Now, when I had the chin hair, when I had the length on that was a different story. That condition, that thing was irritating, man.
Yeah, because you got to make sure when you condition it that you get like up to like the chin, because like that's where like, you know, that's what will allow that hair to be like, you know, healthy and, you know, grow. And like then if you once you start growing a fuller beard, like that gets like dried out under it, like it can get like flaky and stuff, so you really have to keep up with like moisturizing and stuff. Like, man, now the more we talk about it, I'm like, man, facial hair is work. I've never had to like consciously think about it before. I'm like, man, I have had to like consciously put effort into my mustache and beard over the past month or so. That's crazy.
It's part of the routine. You do your hair, you do your facial hair. It takes time. But and even keeping your facial hair, that's confident. You growing your mustache out, you got your little beard coming in. You looking real distinctified. That's not a word, y'all. We're gonna use it. You look real distinctified, and I love the look. I love the shirt, the cut up shirt. It's you. When I met you in 2006, wow, that's a wow, Jesus, that's
woo. That was over 10 years ago. Oh man,
that hurt thinking about that one, yo.
2006. It is its time.
Dang.
Boy.
Sometimes you gotta lean back and think about stuff.
I know.
I can't have said that.
Like that. Woo, 2006. It's been some time.
Dang. You know, but back then you had that curly hair, and for me that was your confidence. Like you didn't care about nothing then in my eyes.
Oh, I was a very nonchalant, non-caring person back then, but I was just so jaded from life in general. Like I had a lot of like pretty particularly difficult circumstances arise in my upbringing, and you know, in dealing with like things like high functioning anxiety disorder, and like I've had my stints in bouts with depression, and high school was definitely, and even in growth and maturity, you know, high school is one of those phases, even as a guy growing and maturing, like that's when you really start like emotionally developing. That's when that part of your brain starts to really like grow and mature. So you just find yourself with all these emotions you don't know what to really do with. And for me, that was even more amplified. I mean, I understand it now because like with my moon sign, and with your moon sign being the way that you process emotions and your inner thoughts being Pisces, like I understand that the reason that those emotions were so like deep was because that's very characteristic of that sign. And I was like, okay, so this deep emotion has kind of always been a part of me. Now I just have to learn how to like harness it and use it in some way that's not just making me sit around and be depressed all day. But yeah, man, it's just yeah, and it was that whole period of time I was so jaded. I mean, I had played in bands. I still, music had already really been a part of my life. I had just started coming into the more heavier realm of sound, the heavier spectrum of music. I had this MP3 player where everything that was on it was pretty much underground, like metal bands. I mean, I went like into the deep, like, I mean, I was listening to like black metal and I mean, like stuff that like, you know, like symphonic metal, like stuff like bands that bands that not even other people but other bands had never heard of. I mean, like, yo, like I would listen to these bands. It's like, yo, that band released like one song like 2 years ago. I'm like, yeah, but it's amazing. Like, listen to all this stuff. Like, so yeah, that whole like, man, high school was just weird, dude. Like, I was in this weird like trying to figure out who I was, trying to find myself, and also like I just moved right before the start of high school, so I didn't even have really the safety net of like, oh, everybody I saw in middle school is here. There were those people, like those few that, you know, ultimately also moved or were just zoned for Forestville or whatever. So I did have a few people, but they were few and far between. So I'm like, here I am, this person in like this new place, and this like living in a new place, in a new school with all these new people, having like, you know, along with like my relationship track record back then was awful. Like, I had been cheated on more times than I could count on both hands, and you know, I didn't really have like my closest friends that I had were like I couldn't access them regularly. Like, one moved to North Carolina, the other one like we just fell out of contact for years. And then yeah, that whole I was so I'm almost like apologetic to people who met me in that particular phase in my life that don't act. I feel like that was such a dark period of my life. I feel like, yeah, even in the way that I carry myself is like, I always tried to play this like this super cool, like, not, I wanted to be that James Dean like leather jacket dude who just didn't care about anything, who always had shades on and was like, you know, just was disenfranchised, just removed from everything. Like, nothing fazed me. I wanted to be like cool as ice. Like, that's exactly who I wanted to be. But ultimately, that's not the person I am. I am a very deep, caring, and loving, and happy-go-lucky and affectionate person. And those two personas, like, you can't have the dude who's like the fun knocking on the jukebox with some shades, like, yeah, everybody damn to this. Well, meanwhile, on the inside, I'm like, hey, you see that person over there? I'm gonna go give him a hug. I'll be right back. It's just not, those just aren't the same people. So while I was trying so hard to be this super cool, like, laid back guy who had it all figured out, like, that was mostly just a defense mechanism for, like, I didn't really want to show people like how vulnerable or how sensitive like I actually was. I didn't even know how to process these emotions myself. Nonetheless, like, explain them to somebody else. So yeah, man, that whole like, and people perceive that as me like kind of having myself together, understanding. I'm like, no, actually, like, quite frankly, just the opposite. Back then, I had no idea who I was, and I was just trying to stay afloat and not really collapse under the weight of all the personal struggles that I was going through. And it wasn't even just the social or the family aspect of it. You know, there's like, again, like, growing and maturing, and, you know, other things that I've been doing like over the course of my life that have like shaped the person that I am, or that, you know, really made me like just jaded in that time. Like, I just tried to act like I didn't care about anything when I cared about everything. And yeah, it's funny for people to have perceived that as, oh man, you've always known who, or you've always had yourself figured out. I'm like, no, I have not. I really haven't. That's been the farthest thing from the case. And maybe what people perceived as like an air of confidence was more so like just the really good mask that I put on to the world. Like, in breaking cycles of trauma, I've also like told people that I kind of retire from playing the social game. Like, I'm just me, and if you like it or don't like it, that's ultimately for you to decide. But I'm not gonna keep putting on this mask to the world to try and be this version of me that I think the world wants. It's like, hey, here's me. Either you like it or you don't. If you like it, cool, be a part of this. If not, then there's an entire world out there to explore for you to find who you want to be in your life and who you don't want to be. And if that's not me, then fine. I'd actually, you know, thrive on people not particularly needing me in their life, but like either just wanting me around or like wanting to be around me. When somebody needs me and my particular personality type, it's gone to show that is more problematic in how I dive into being a caregiver versus, somebody just like, hey, I appreciate the value you add to my life, and I just want you to be around. Versus you don't have to help me, but just I value being here. Versus, hey man, I really need you. This is going wrong, and to where I'll just be like, all right, screw everything I'm doing. Let's help you out. So yeah, I did back then, especially. So I didn't. Man, I was I was a mess of an individual, and it's so weird to look back on it for people to be like, yeah, you always had it together, because it's like, no, dude, man, people just don't know behind closed doors the sleepless nights, the tears shed, the thoughts that run through your head as you can't stop. It's like, man, there was so much that I endured, especially during the time that we met initially, where I did not have any parts of my life together at all. I really had to. It took some years and some time for me to even figure out who I was in that sense. I didn't really start figuring myself out, from that period of high school until the first semester at Bowie, that first year. So all throughout high school, I'll just chalk that all up as I didn't know who I was. I was trying to apply what I knew about myself, or what I thought myself was, and what I thought I was, to all these different situations that didn't match up. That goes into relationships, clubs that I might have tried to be a part of at school, that, sports that I did. I just would try whatever will work or whatever will make me happy, and try to identify based on that. But that's only a portion of who a person is. What you do is only a part of you. Who you are in the core of your being is, and discovering that is a whole nother journey in itself. So yeah, I figured out some stuff I like to do along the way. Yeah, I was pretty good at wrestling. I enjoyed playing football. The culinary club was pretty awesome. I had some girlfriends that were great, some girlfriends that were not so great, that taught me a lot about myself in relationships. But yeah, it was all that, especially that part of it. That was the beginning of the learning process before I even started the journey of figuring out who I was. That's like reading the camp brochure before you even go to the camp. That is what that whole period of life was for me. It's okay, so they got kayaking at this camp. That's pretty awesome. I might try kayaking one day. Maybe I'll be a guy who kayaks. Maybe I won't. But that's what that whole phase of life was, me reading the life brochure. It's oh, okay, there's guitarists. I might try that. That's pretty cool. It's just figuring out a bunch of things that stuck, or that made me happy just because they made me happy, and then continuing on from there.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I think we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this segment here.
Okay.
I don't want to hold you too long tonight. So, but that was some great stuff there. Again, I'm really happy for you. I'm going to continue to encourage you, continue to be in your corner. I want to continue to look at your posts on Facebook and think about my life. I'm still going to continue to just dive into my own journey of self-identifying, self-reflection, and things like that. But before we close out, Mr. Kevin, is there any advice that you can give to Life in Poetry on self-identifying and trying to just really figure out who they are as a being?
I'd say it would really help me mostly the personality typing systems, definitely, because it allows you to give honest answers to a questionnaire that, and then it'll give you a result. I literally just see it as it's so funny that I keep circling back to music because it's such a big part of my life. It's on a piano, it's finding that middle C. Once you find the middle C, you know where you are. This is the beginning, and then from there you can play anything on the piano, as long as you know how to navigate it. So I feel like these personality typing systems are tools that people can use to have the individual pieces to ultimately make up themselves as a whole. And for me, those systems have been the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs personality assessment, which can be taken on 16personalities.com. There's the love languages. There's your astrological chart. Your sun, moon, and your rising signs are the most important
But then also as you dig deeper into it, you'll figure out like what's your Mercury and your Venus, and that's like how you love and how you communicate, and your Mars is how you handle like conflict and stuff. It's like it really like lays out your personality in connection with planets in a way that even myself was super skeptical to before. I was like, yeah, all right, I'm a Virgo, so that means I'm supposed to have all these things because of the day that I was born. Come on, dude. Like, what is that supposed to mean? And again, people would meet me and be like, you're a Virgo? I don't really get that. And so I was just like, there's that on its own has to be saying that this system has no basis because people can't type me based off of interacting with me. But once I understood the totality of it, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely a Virgo sun, Pisces moon, Libra rising for sure. Like that's definitely me in the conjunction of all those things. So it's like not even taking that information for face value, like maybe just finding the little nuggets of truth that resonate, and then building your own collection of, you know, what you like, who the type of person that you are, what you perceive yourself to be. So that's very important. Extend like, you know, random like acts of kindness if you can. Always believe that, you know, this world would be a much brighter place if people cared more for each other. So I try to every day in some way, shape, or form, like even if it's just a good morning message to somebody I care about, to like just add that little extra spark that somebody's there, that little extra light. So I encourage people to like, you know, if you can extend that kindness to somebody, to do so. You never know like how the smallest act can alter the course of somebody's entire life. Like I literally gave somebody $1 and it made them stop smoking. Like there's no way that you can't do something for somebody that could something small that you don't even think about that can alter the course of their entire life in a positive way. So that I am gonna very respectfully utilize your platform to say Black Lives do matter. The utilization of the all lives matter rhetoric to dismiss the struggles of an entire race and culture is insidious, and it shows exactly how toxic of a system and ideology racism is. So in loving and being kind and understanding yourself, like you have to also extend that to all people. And even if those people might not be people that I've met plenty of people that I don't get along with, but I will still respect you, love you, and show you compassion as a proper human should. So between understanding yourself, like using those systems, like being caring and compassionate to other people, and more so importantly, loving yourself, it is a very, very hard, difficult, and tumultuous journey. And I can't like stress enough how much I've been through just in my own personal walk of life. That's just been completely transformative. Which is why I'm excited to even share my story with anybody, because it can offer some type of impact that's positive. But yeah, just extending kindness to all people. There's no reason to perpetuate hate into the world. There's no genuine reason to cause harm to anybody when the alternative of that is just like embracing them and giving them love and, you know, building them up to make them be a better version of themselves, which is my entire life's mission at this point. So I encourage people to be loving, understand themselves, understand others and the world around them, and to always remember that no matter how hard you might be on yourself, and this is, I guess, is more so me talking to myself, but no matter how far you might think you have to go, or how much is left on the journey, or no matter how much you think, like how negatively you think to yourself, or, you know, anything that you might have to say to instill doubt in yourself, like just know that you're probably a lot farther than you think. You probably do a lot more for people than you think. And every person, no matter what you've done in life, what your walk of life is, like you're loved, you're valuable, special, important, you're beautiful, handsome, whatever like particular compliment like fits your aesthetic, like from the way that you dress to the way that you present yourself to the way that you talk. Any individual that hears this message, you are loved simply for who you are, not what you do or what you have to provide to somebody. And outside of all the particular hats that you may wear and the roles that you may play in life, you at the core of your being just deserving of it simply for the fact that you exist, not because you have to earn it from somebody else. So in totality, my message is love yourself, understand yourself, be kind, and give your true, genuine self to the world, because you never know. As much as you think that might not be a beautiful thing, like there are people that are very beautiful spirits who cage themselves and don't like the world, like the way that they talk or just the way that they dress could change the world is so powerful, and people just limit themselves because they're so caught up in their own head. So I'd like people to remove all limits that they might have within themselves, and your dreams are not unobtainable. Like, people romanticize their dreams in a way of, one of my dreams is being able to share a stage with one of my favorite bands, and that's very close to becoming a reality. And in a lot of respects, I've already done that. So I can look back and go, man, like that dream that, I'd say that I'll give the band's name, like one of my favorite bands, Oh Sleeper. I've always said, man, I would love to share stage with them at some point. And at this point in life, I've already had the singer shove a microphone in my face. I was in the front row and scream along parts of this song, to where people came back were like, man, you sounded really good. You sounded just like Micah. And I'm like, whoa, I've already lived that dream. So now it's only to continue to build from there. Your dreams are, it seems like with the rise of this pandemic, and the toppling of industries and the flourishing of others, and just the perspective of life that civil unrest has put in the world, it seems that what's been articulated to us that are dreams are not actually dreams. Like, the things that make us happy are not far off dreams that can't be accomplished. Like, from one YouTube video, you can go viral, and then now you aspire to have your voice heard by millions of people. Now they can do that. Now they can hear it because it's a reality that can happen. So I just want everyone to know that your dreams are also a reality, and don't limit yourself, because though you think that this superstar that you watch on TV is such this grand persona, just know they have pretty elaborate teams behind them, and it's not just them doing it by themselves. Everybody needs help sometimes, which, especially for those of us that are caregivers, we don't like to reach out and ask for help because it's hard. Everybody needs help, and I've made a lot more success in life recently by understanding that having a support system is important and necessary. And that's the one thing I don't humble brag on. I legitimately brag on my support system, because I have what I perceive as the best support system in not just the world, but the universe. And they look out for me in ways that I could never care for myself in those ways, because it takes other people to extend that care. It takes a village, and nobody should have to endure things by themselves. So also understand that, these people that you see as these self-made heroes or these self-made millionaires are not 100% self-made. It's impossible. There's no way to make it by yourself in this life. And just know that if you have any mental health issues or anything that you're struggling with, there are resources. I myself always extend to people, if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I know that I'm finite as a person. I can't be there for literally everybody, but I use the best of my resources to be able to try to do that. And to other people who might not know that those resources are aware, there are phone numbers that you can call if you're feeling depressed or anxious. There are people or programs that you can reach out to for advice. Just know that if you need help, there's no shame in reaching out to get it. And the help that those things will ultimately provide you will astronomically, leaps and bounds, do a plethora of good for you, as opposed to trying to just handle it by yourself. So yeah, in closing, I'd just like to say, any mental health issues that somebody has, I strongly encourage you to just be vulnerable. Maybe reach out to a friend, or that's somebody that's caring and understanding, or reach out to a mental health professional and be like, hey man, I just need somebody to talk to, or I just need some help. I feel like we can catch and not cure, but nurture and help a lot of mental health issues before they get to the drastic levels of people having to be hospitalized. So yeah, overall, those would be the messages I'd like anybody who would hear my voice to know. And be prepared for some super awesome music and stuff coming soon. Again, like I wish I could like use this as like my reveal for everything, but we're still in the early cooking stages of what we're working up. So I'm dedicating a good part of my life now to things that make me happy, and that includes guitar, being a spreader of positivity or an influencer of sorts, and being this like guitarist of this band that's gonna hopefully take over the world, because that's what I perceive that we have the ability to do. So yeah, it's been great talking to you. I cannot extend enough how much, one, it's been great talking, like just talking and catching up, but two, for you to be interested enough in my story to like allow me to be on your platform to really like have a genuine conversation and be able to, you know, exude what I feel is my light into the world to your viewers, and to all of your viewers. I hope that you're like happy, healthy, safe, and loved. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and, you know, like, share, and, you know, have a conversation with people, you know, start like, man, just, I feel like these conversations are important, and like that, you know, people's lives have so much to bear, and so much, like, so many lessons to teach the people. Like, so I hope that your platform like continues to grow, and I know that it'll continue to grow, and, you know, the mass of followers and viewers that you will have and lives that you'll be able to touch will be insane. And man, and I look forward to seeing it all come to grand fruition for you. And it's even just having this, like, just having this conversation, and even with the technical difficulties that we've had, and just, you know, and even still persevering through, man, like, it shows that no matter what adversity is ever thrown at you, and you especially, like, considering the walk of life that you've had up until this point, like, no matter what life has ever tried to throw at you living true to your favorite quote, like, you came, you saw, you conquered, and you're like, it is now, like, I'm not gonna let this beat me. Like, I have a story to tell. I know other people have a story to tell, and it's great, man. I'm super happy that you're doing this, and it's good to see you doing well. You look good. The hat's awesome. Like, you're like you're doing great, man. It's awesome to catch up. Like, you're always somebody I've considered a brother of mine. It's good to see my bro doing well. It's very heartwarming for me.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. But that was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you for those words of encouragement for life and poetry. Life and poetry. Stay true to those words. Those are some good words to hold on to. That's some good encouragement there, guys. You know, here at Life and Poetry, we are all about uplifting, empowering, and encouraging with that sprinkle of poetry on top. Guys, oh my God, this was an awesome conversation. Kevin, thank you again for joining us here at the Life and Poetry family, Life and Poetry platform with the Life and Poetry brand. And guess what? You are officially a part of the Life and Poetry team, brand, and family now. Once you come once, you're going to come back again. I don't care what you say. We're going to make room for you here. Whenever you want to talk about something, come on back. Let's talk about it here on the channel. Let's continue to share that positivity to the people out there in this world. This thing full of chaos. I almost cussed. We're gonna push that. We're gonna push it that way, right? But thank you again for coming up here, guys. I was gonna close out this video in true Life and Poetry fashion, but seeing as how Mr. Kevin's already done so, I want to simply say, guys, be blessed, stay safe. You know what time it is. Until next time, peace.